There we go. All right, so we are going to have a short assignment today. We talked about Christopher Columbus. We talked about the Columbian Exchange the last time that we met. Today, you're going to be looking at some documents. You're going to be looking at one of Christopher Columbus's diaries based on what he saw when he came to the New World. You'll be reading through that. There's a video we'll watch together. There's also a short article you're going to read. And based on all that material, you have a few questions you got to answer. But really, a lot of this is just you using your imagination. We are going to be going back over this whole crazy cap process, which I think once you finally kind of get your arms around it, you realize it's pretty easy, and it's something that as long as you can kind of have an imagination, shouldn't pose you too many problems. I'll get into that here in just a second. Again, you're going to have the entire class period to work on it. You'll probably finish before you leave, but it's not technically due until tomorrow. A couple other news and notes, things that are coming up grade-wise. Like I said, tomorrow, the assignment that we're going to do today, that's going to be due tomorrow by midnight. But again, get it done before you leave if you can. After that, for most of the rest of the week, we're going to be getting back into that PowerPoint we were doing before the break. Really long, multi-part PowerPoint. I think there's like 5 parts. We're probably going to be starting on part 3, maybe. But we will finish that PowerPoint before the end of the week. On Friday, we're going to have an SAQ over the contents of the PowerPoint. Okay, we're calling it our Transoceanic Interconnections SAQ because that's kind of what we're talking about, the old world and the new world meeting together. Make sure you take some notes for your notebook, but also like all this weird vocabulary, those are the sort of things you need to be using in your SAQs. Remember, in all of our writings, all this vocab, I want you to use that stuff. I want you to use it correctly. I want you to explain what these things mean. That's what kind of shows me that you actually grasp the material. So make sure you're taking good notes. Make sure all this weird vocabulary you get down. Make sure you use it on your SAQ. That is going to be for a daily grade. Lastly, and I thought about doing this on Friday, but we're going to wait until Monday to give you the weekend to just get everything squared away if you need it. We are going to have our first notebook check of the 6 weeks. What you see listed back there, that is all that's going to be in it. We're not going to finish the PowerPoint till the end of the week, so you need to still add some PowerPoint stuff. But honestly, you already know what's going to be there. So that gives you between now and next week to get this stuff squared away. Because remember, your notebook check, it's a daily grade, but at the end of the 6 weeks, it does average into a test grade. The last couple announcements. First, we're finally going to have some new seats. We've had these seats like for forever. And I feel like we got to mix it up every once in a while. So either tomorrow or the next day, we are going to have some new seats. I mention that because if you have any sort of vision problem or like wherever you are right now, you can't see or there's something special you need, talk to me after class. I'm pretty amenable to helping you guys out if you need it. But please talk to me before you leave today. That way I can make sure that you're going to be wherever you're going to be the most successful. Last announcement before we go over today's stuff, missing work. Okay, we had our catch-up day the Friday before we left. You had a lot of time over Thanksgiving break. It's okay if you didn't do anything. I get it. I was on vacation too. But that stuff's like really, really late now. So everything that we've had thus far this 6 weeks, the DBQSA being the biggest thing, but there were three other daily grades as well. The last day I will accept that stuff is this Friday at 4:20. Now, here's the deal. You get a 0 on the DBQ, you are probably going to fail for the 6 weeks because it is a test grade. So at the very least, make sure you give me something for that. All that stuff is still open, but it's going to close at that time. If you have questions of how to do any of those things, please come see me. We'll get it squared away, but we need to get this stuff in because that is going to be the cutoff for everything that we've done thus far. So without further ado, let's go over this stuff. We are in the week of November the 30th here. I've got the cap poster here, which is the same thing that's hanging there. We'll go over this here in a second. But let me show you what your assignment is. Okay, and it's pretty darn easy. So click here on your document analysis, Christopher Columbus. It's for a minor grade. There's Columbus right there, supposedly, discovering the new world. This assignment is divided into two broad parts. Part one, you're doing some document analysis. You're going to be looking at some of Columbus's journal entries from 1492. Part two, you're going to answer a question over the video in the article that's here. Okay, first, let's look at the Journal of Christopher Columbus. It says here, complete each of the sentence stems below based on the primary source linked above. Be thorough and descriptive in your sentences. All right, if you click on this link, it should get you here to this Journal of Christopher Columbus. Okay, he's got, I think, 3 days in there that he's breaking down some information. It's really not that much, guys. All right, the most difficult thing will be, you know, this was written 500 years ago. So he talks in a certain manner that at times you're going to be scratching your head on, but it's pretty straightforward. This is him arriving in the New World. He's in the Bahamas. Remember, he never actually gets to you know, what we consider to be like the United States or anything like that. But this is what opens up the floodgates. This is the beginning of the Columbian Exchange, the last thing that we talked about before the break. I want you to read through this, okay? But as you're reading through this, I want you to think about this stuff right here, because these are the things that you're going to go over after you read. All right, now we've talked about this before, and this is something you have to do on the DBQ essay, which we are going to have another one of here eventually, maybe sooner than you think. So for each one of these, I want you to do two things. First, identify, okay? Tell me what the context is. This is 1492. It's the age of exploration, okay? That is the time period this is going on in. And when you're looking at historical documentation, you always got to keep that in mind, because 500 years ago, the views of the world were a lot different than today. So that is going to shape the sort of things he says and why he says them the way that he does. Okay, so you're going to identify the context, and then you're going to tell me why it's significant. How is the fact that he was living 500 years ago with a limited knowledge of the world that we live in, you know, compared to what we have today, how might that affect some of his descriptions, some of the things that he sees, some of the things that he's amazed by? Some of the stuff he's talking about, you know, to us would be pretty tame. We'd say, oh man, we know all about that, but he doesn't, because 500 years ago. So you need to identify the context, basically just describe the time period this is happening in, but also try to figure out how that informs what he says, how he says what he says. Again, be creative. Okay, one good solid sentence for each of these. The first part and the second, because those are sentence stems, you'll be good. The next part, the intended audience. Who do you think he's writing this for? I mean, yeah, this is his journal, but he works for some people, doesn't he? I mean, maybe there's an agenda here. Who really knows? Who else might read this, okay? Again, you don't know for a fact, but I want you to speculate. One good, complete sentence. This is who I think the audience was. How do you think that's significant? If he's saving this for himself, if maybe this is going to the King and Queen of Spain, how might that affect exactly what he says and how he says it? Next one, the purpose. Same deal. Why do you think he's writing it? You don't know. I don't know, but we can speculate. And why do you think that purpose? Why do you think that goal may affect what he's saying? Maybe what he's not saying. And finally, the point of view. Well, obviously, it's Columbus. But how might his point of view as a Italian, you know, working for the Spanish, as a sailor, as a guy from the old world, how might that impact what he's saying? Again, one good, complete sentence to kind of round out these sentence stems for each. Pretty easy stuff. There's 4 of these. We're going to say for each little pair of sentences, like 20 points apiece. The next part, you're moving on from the journal, because now you've kind of seen his point of view. There are 2 things that you got to go over. First, there's an article from biography.com, I think. Was Christopher Columbus a hero or a villain? He's a controversial guy. I mean, when I was a kid, it's Columbus Day, he's a hero. And then as time's passed on and people have really looked at the history and seen some of the things that he didn't do, well, you start to see, well, maybe he wasn't such a hero. And some of that's, you know, based on your interpretation. It's your opinion. But this article is real short. They just talk about a few interesting details of his life. Shouldn't take you long, okay? Once you read that, if you don't get to it today, or if you blink out on some stuff, there is a video. Now, we're going to watch this video together here in just a second, just get that out of the way. But if you complete this as a later date, this kind of goes along with the article. And again, it's just a little TED-Ed video. We've watched a bunch of these, history versus Christopher Columbus. All you have to do after you read and, watch the video is answer this question. In your opinion, how should we view the legacy of Christopher Columbus? Now, I need at least a paragraph, okay? And I'll say 3 good solid sentences. If you don't give me at least 3 solid sentences, you're not going to get full credit. But based on the article, based on the video, there's no reason you can't have enough stuff there to form a pretty informed opinion. That's what I want. For the good, for the bad, there's no right or wrong. Just got to give me 3 sentences at least, maybe 4. And I want you to pull some evidence, pull some evidence from his journal, pull some evidence from this article, from the video, bring up some specific reasons why he's a hero or why he really was a bad guy. Okay, so there's 5 total things you got to do. We're going to say 20 points each. Now, really, all this, if you get started now, there's no reason you can't finish today or finish maybe just the last part tonight or something. But that being said, I get it. We're all coming back from break. We're all, half insane trying to get used to being here. I'm not going to actually make it due until tomorrow at midnight. But guys, don't get it done. If you can get it done in class, that would be the best way to do it. So that is the game plan today. Does anybody have any questions thus far? Fantastic. Now, I didn't make a Word version of this, but probably the easiest thing to do when you can do it on paper first if you want and take a picture, that's fine. Or just kind of copy and paste, or just like type it into the text box when you turn it in. I'm not so much worried about the format. I am worried about the content. Now, to kind of start us off, just so everybody's not trying to listen to the video on their own, especially if you don't have headphones or something, we are going to watch the history versus video together. So we're kind of going out of order. If I were you, unless you really want to watch it again, maybe in your notebook, make a little T-chart or something, or jot down a couple notes. What are some of the good things he does? What are some of the bad things he does? That way you can kind of reference that when you actually get to the hero or villain question at the end of the assignment. So the video is short, it's like 5 minutes. And once that's done, I'm going to give you the rest of the class to do your assignment over Old Columbus. And then tomorrow we'll pick up with some of the aftermath of his actions. Watch and enjoy, stay awake.
Many people in the United States and Latin America have grown up celebrating the anniversary of Christopher Columbus's voyage.
Kids at home, you'll need to watch the video on your own, but I will keep this up and running. If you have any questions, let me know.
And slavery. And did he even discover America